Alright, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be showing you all how to replace the steering rack bushings on a 2000 Subaru Impreza. Recently I've noticed some really bad squeaking noises and almost like clunky noises coming from the front end of my car. And if you've seen some other videos of mine, I've basically replaced everything on the bottom end of this thing, from the ball joints, inner and outer tie rods, the control arms, the whole 9 yards. And it wasn't until recently that I figured out that my bushings were bad on my steering rack. I was actually going to replace the whole thing, but I noticed once I used some WD-40 on it, everything quieted down. So I went ahead and ordered some new bushings for it. There's a part number. And yeah, I'll go ahead and get this started. I'll throw in some clips of how my car sounded beforehand and how I diagnosed it, and then I'll show you where to actually remove these from. So I've already got the car just barely on ramps because it's not too far underneath, and I'll start once I get underneath. So if we're looking at the front of the car, crawl under as if you were doing an oil change. Here's the oil pan, and here's the mount for what I use for the jacking point. And as you can see, maybe if I zoom out a little bit, you can see here is the passenger side part of the steering rack and the driver side. It's a little bit behind the headers, or above the headers, so this side's a little bit trickier. But all you'll need is a 14 millimeter deep socket, and go ahead and loosen these two bolts on this side. And when you come over here, it's going to be the same thing. There's a bolt right up there, and then the bolt that's down there. Now, I'm not going to film me struggling to get these off there because they've never been replaced, but once I do, I'll show you what to do. And I would recommend doing one side at a time. I'm not too sure what is exactly holding on the whole steering rack itself, but I'm just going to do one side at a time, so yeah. Alright, now as you can see, I have the passenger side bracket off, and you can move the steering rack ever so slightly, which is why I said to try and do one side at a time. So this side, I still have it bolted on. It's a little loose, so I could get more play. And so I removed the bracket holding on the bushing, and I'll show you what the bushing looks like. And clearly these have never been replaced, so go ahead and move out and I'll show you that. And it'll be the same process for the driver's side. Alright, so here's the passenger side bracket and the two bolts with the washers on them. And as you can see, the bushing is pretty much screwed. There's a reason why I'm hearing so much noise and not getting as good as feedback on turns and things. So really hoping these new bushings will do the trick. But yeah, this is pretty worn out, so it would just sit there. The steering rack kind of just sit like that. This side opens towards you, so I'm gonna try and clean this up a bit, the bracket and the bolts, and get the passenger side on before I start on the driver's side. So before I keep going, if you get this kit, it does give you a rundown of the bushings and what is included in it. It seems to me like they're already greased, so I don't really have to worry about it. And obviously they're much better off than much stiffer and ready to go compared to what was already on there. And funny enough, these are white line bushings, I believe. So, I mean, these were only 30 bucks as opposed to, I think, 60 for the white lines. But one of these will be discarded. Now, I haven't got to the driver's side yet, but I'm assuming it's going to be this one because this side already looked the same. But again, I'm going to get under there and check it and let you guys know how that goes. All right, well, I wasn't able to film it, but I got these cleaned up, or the passenger side cleaned up. And all I had to do was slide the new bushing around the steering rack. I pulled it down a little bit. Again, this side was loose. I'm about ready to get the driver's side on, or off and then on. But yeah, you literally just slide it behind there. I'll try and get this side, but again, my hands are really dirty, and it's pretty straightforward once you get the old bushing off. So yeah, just gonna finish up here and let you guys know the results. All right, well, after about an hour of struggling on the driver's side, I finally, got the bushing out. I did, however, have to take off the steering knuckle, which all that is a 12mm bolt that locks the U-joint into place onto the actual steering shaft up there. But yeah, as you can see, this one not as bad, but still pretty worn. Definitely factory. So all you do is just slide the new one over the steering rack. I still can't figure out how to get the bracket out, and I'm honestly kind of tired of messing with this, so I'm gonna try my best to get the new bushing on there and see how that goes. Well, I was able to finally get the other bracket off, but I did end up having to remove the jack mounting plate underneath the steering rack here. And as you can see, I have the new bushing for the driver's side on. I still have a little bit of messing around to do to get the back side of it completely wrapped around, and I'm gonna finish up the passenger side. I gotta clean it up and lube it up some more. But again, in order to get this out and make it a little bit easier, you need to take off the jack mounting plate and then the steering knuckle. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this tightened up, put everything back together, and yeah. And after many hours of struggling, finally got the passenger side bracket on and tightened down. Well, I'm in the process of tightening down, and the driver's side tightening down. I'm gonna go in like a crisscross pattern to get it on there as best as possible, and then all I have left is to put the jack mounting bracket back on and tighten up the U-joint for the steering shaft. So really simple. Well, not simple. I would definitely recommend having another set of hands or 2 sets of pliers to be able to pull the rubber bracket around, and lots of lube. Super frustrating by yourself, but I hope this video helps you. I'll link the instructions from the forum that I found and all the tools needed for this. And yeah, hopefully this helps. Let me know if you guys have any questions. I'm going to finish this up and get out from under this car finally. Well, after a quick test drive, everything seems to be lining up pretty good. I'm not getting any vibrations or drifting anymore. Definitely make sure when you put everything back together, especially the steering knuckle onto the shaft, that it's lined up. Mine seems to be lined up. Maybe I'm not used to the tightness anymore, or what it was like before those bushings went bad, but yeah, everything's back together, so it can be done by yourself.